Magandang araw, mga kababayan, mga ka-DDS. Disclaimer lang ang pag-repost at pag-replay kung sa video content na ito ay propagation purposes para sa dagdag kaalaman ng ating mga viewers. Credit to the rightful owner, Attorney Nel Abayon. Napakahusay, napakalinis, madaling maintindihan, very specific ang kanyang mga explanation. May reference, may basis sa madaling salita, based upon proven security principles according to the language of the law. Lalong-lalo na pagkarapatang pangtao ang pag-uusapan. Panoorin natin, mga kababayan.
So good day po my fellow taong bayan, at ngayon po papag-usapan na natin tong Saln ng mga senador. Okay, so may nirelease po din yung congressmen pero iilan lang po kasi yun. So I will just be focusing na lang po yung discussion ko sa Senate Saln kasi all 24 senators po natin has already released their Saln. Okay, at kung makikita po ninyo itong post ng News 5 was October 29 pa po, but it is already November 3 as of the date of recording this. So medyo na late na po talaga tayo, but since wala pa naman pong magaganda or bagong balita talaga, I decided po after my 5-day absence na gawan ko na talaga ng video itong Saln. Okay, so basically po I will be explaining the legal basis ng Saln po, bakit to siya fina-file, and then sasagutin ko po yung one of the more interesting questions dito kung whether or not pwede ba talaga pekein yung Saln. And then lastly po, magbibigay lang din ako ng personal observations ko dito sa mga amount involved ng mga senador po sa Saln po ng mga senador natin. From Senator Mark Villar's 1.2 billion, Senator Raffy Tulfo's 1.052 billion, and then the poorest of all the senators, si former Senate President Chis Escudero at 18.8 million. Okay, so kung curious po kayo sa Saln, yan po, papag-usapan nating lahat yan. Okay, so good day po ulit, my fellow taong bayan. And to start things off po, we will look at the legal side of things, yung mga batas po, yung legal basis for this. And kung makikita po ninyo, nasa 1987 Constitution na naman po tayo. Okay, so dito po ngayon, pupunta ulit tayo sa Article 11 pa rin po, Accountability of Public Officers. Diba? So ito pong Article 11, dito po nakalagay yung impeachment, yung ombudsman, provision sa Constitution, at dito rin po yung tungkol sa Saln, sa Section 17 to be specific. Okay, and kung makikita po ninyo, yung atin talagang Constitution is very organized, diba? Pinagsama-sama po talaga yung lahat yung mga related when it involves yung pagiging accountable po ng mga public servants sa taong bayan. But anyway po, going back ngayon, we will look at Section 17 of Article 11. So makikita po ninyo dito, a public officer or employee shall, upon assumption of office and as often thereafter as may be required by law, submit a declaration under oath of his assets, liabilities, and net worth. And then yung next po, in the case of the President, the Vice President, the members of the Cabinet, the Congress, the Supreme Court, the Constitutional Commissions, and other constitutional offices, and officers of the Armed Forces with general or flag rank, the declaration shall be disclosed to the public in the manner provided by law. So kung makikita po ninyo, wala po talagang distinction na ginawa yung Section 17. Ang nakalagay lang po talaga dito, a public officer or employee shall, upon assumption of office. Diba? So lahat po talaga covered. And as a matter of fact po, sa second sentence, pinecify pa na pag President, Vice President, yung taga-Congress, Supreme Court, and itong other offices pa, susundin lang yung magiging provisions ng batas kung ano yung paraan or manner po pag-file ng law. Okay, so again, ulitin ko lang po, wala po yung exemptions. All public officers po, basta you are working in the government employee, public officer, or public employee, you are required by the Constitution po talaga to file your Saln, or to be more accurate po, your statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth. And the reason po kaya ko in-emphasize na wala talagang distinction yung ginawa yung Section 17, kasi kung maalala po ninyo, di ba there are some provisions dito sa Constitution natin na applicable dun sa regular public officers pero hindi applicable to the members of Congress. So yan lang po ang gusto ko lang din klaruhin regarding this. So ngayon punta naman po tayo sa next interesting question natin dun sa whether or not pwede ba pekein yung Saln. So ang sagot po dyan is pwede po yan pekein Kasi it is a declaration lang po eh, 'di ba? So when you say declaration, nakadepende po talaga yan dun sa tao kung ano yung i-declare niya, 'di ba? So in other words, pwede po talaga dayain kasi kung maisipan po ng public officer or employee na magsinungaling dun sa Saln niya, edi bahala na po yun siya dun. Kasi again, it is dependent po kung ano yung gusto i-declare ng declarant dun sa Saln niya. Okay? Kasi ang required lang naman po, gawin niya yun under oath. So as long as mag-declare siya ng Saln niya na ganito lang yung amount na yun tapos ginawa niya yun under oath, then that is already sufficient compliance with the requirements of the Constitution and of the law. Therefore po, pwede talaga dayain. Okay? So ang next na lang po magiging follow-up question dito is kung ano naman yung posibleng maging liability kung dayain nga talaga or pekein yung Saln. Okay? So for that po, yung pinaka-obvious is of course, yung declarant po na magsinungaling sa Saln niya can be held liable for perjury kasi of course, pag ginawa niya yung Saln, yung pag-declare po niya is under oath po yan. Diba? At tatandaan po natin, the crime of perjury po is committed by stating or by providing false testimony, false statements while you are under oath. Okay? So yan po yung first liability na pwede dyan, perjury. And then kung meron pa silang mga pineke doon, pwede rin yan for falsification. Pero that will be another story pa kasi depende na lang po kung ano yung pineke doon sa statement. Pero yung pinaka-obvious po talaga dyan, automatic is perjury talaga kasi under oath po yung Saln pag fina-file eh. Okay? And then yung isa pa po na posibleng maging consequence din sa pag-declare mo ng maling Saln or by failure in providing a Saln, yung best example po niyan is yung case ni former Justice Sereno, 'di ba? Kasi yung nangyari po doon kay former Justice Sereno, she was ousted from her office as Chief Justice via quo warranto kasi question po doon yung Saln niya na meron daw mga irregularities at mga mali-mali basically po na ginawa si former Justice Sereno. At dahil po doon sa mali at mistake ni Justice Sereno sa Saln niya, natanggal po siya from office as the Chief Justice and in effect, because quo warranto po yung pagtanggal sa kanya, it is equivalent to as if po hindi naging Chief Justice si former Justice Sereno. Kaya pag i-check nyo po sa Supreme Court records, hindi po siya listed as a former Chief Justice. Okay, so yan po yung mga possible liabilities and possible consequences po if you improperly declare a Saln or fail to declare your Saln. So ngayon po, punta naman tayo sa next question, which is whether or not effective ba yung Saln requirement ng ating Constitution. And before ko po sagutin yung question na yan, request lang po sa inyong lahat kung hindi pa po kayo nakasubscribe sa channel. Hopefully po you can consider subscribing sa YouTube channel ko para po updated kayo kung may mga bago akong upload. And if you also want to support my content creation po, you may do so by joining the membership program po sa YouTube ko, which I called the Associates for Truth. Okay, so ngayon tuloy po tayo sa discussion. So this one po is a very interesting question talaga. At kung ako po ang tatanungin ninyo, hindi po siya effective. Yan po yung pinaka-simple way and direct na masasabi ko. Kasi tatandaan po natin, ang purpose po niya ng requirement ng Saln is for accountability po ng public officers natin para po mapakita nila sa atin na hindi sila magnanakaw, hindi sila corrupt, and so on and so forth. Yan po talaga yung purpose ng Saln requirement na yan. Kaya nga po nakalagay siya dun sa Article 11, di ba, ng ating 1987 Constitution, which is titled The Accountability of Public Officers. Kaya ako po siya nasabi na hindi siya effective is because madami pong nagsisinungaling sa Saln talaga. Okay? And I am stating this based on personal knowledge as a former member po ng House of Representatives. And the reason why I am sharing my personal experience po, kasi yung Saln nagiging topic din po yan between congressmen, between senators. Well, at least po during my time in Congress, the 17th Congress, there was a time na nagiging topic din po yan sa mga congressmen. Tapos nag-aasaran na lang po yan paano ba naging ganyan lang Saln mo? Tapos kung ano-anong luxury watch, luxury car yung congressman na yun. So yan lang po ang masasabi ko. Hindi siya effective because kasi yun nga po, di ba, like what I explained earlier, it is really dependent kung ano yung gusto i-declare lang ng public officer or public employee. And then yung isa pa po dyan, yung requirements din ng batas natin is ilalagay mo lang kung ano yung nandun sa bank account mo for the cash on hand naman yan or cash on in bank. Paano po kung itago mo yung cash na yun, di ba? Ilagay mo, let's say, invest mo somewhere kung saan na magic. Di yun, hindi na agad magre-reflect yun sa Saln niya. That very simple manner or loophole po na pwedeng gawin. So yan po yung mga reasons kaya ako nasabi na hindi talaga siya effective kasi madami pong mga loopholes or mga paraan para mapalaki or mapaliit yung Saln po ng isang public officer. Okay, so hopefully klaro po yan. And for the last po na discussion natin is magbibigay na lang po ako ng personal observations ko dito. Okay? So unang-una po ito sila Senator Mark Villar and si Senator Camille Villar na 1.261 billion, si Senator Mark 362 million, si Senator Camille. Ito yung sa kanilang dalawa, medyo realistic naman to considering they come from the Villar family. Kung saan yung father po nila, si former Senate President Manny Villar, was the richest Filipino for ilang years din po yun, di ba? And because of that, I'm sure ito silang dalawang magkapatid, meron to silang mga investments sa companies ng tatay nila or ng family po nila, which resulted to this, di ba? So, ito medyo realistic naman. Si Senator Raffy Tulfo at si Senator Erwin Tulfo, ito silang dalawa, tingin ko rin po realistic considering they both come from the media and from the entertainment sector. At kung alam naman po natin, pag media ka talaga or galing sa entertainment sector, mataas din po yung income doon. Kaya nga yung mga top taxpayers dito sa bansa po natin usually galing sa entertainment industry. At ito po, isama na rin natin si Senator Robin Padilla. Halos same naman po to sila ng source of income sa nakikita ko. Although itong dalawa more on sa media, Senator Robin entertainment. And kay Senator Raffy po, tingin ko this is very realistic na may 1 billion talaga siya. Kasi kung titingnan po ninyo yung YouTube page pa lang po niya, meron na po yung halos 15 billion views if I'm not mistaken. Tapos ang long form pa po nung content nito ni Senator Raffy Tulfo, halos nasa 1 hour plus yan, di ba? So from the media and entertainment empire talaga nito ni Senator Raffy Tulfo sa YouTube niya, Facebook, social media, and yung sa mga radio programs niya, very realistic po at doable itong 1 billion pesos niya. And then, wag na po natin to isa-isahin itong mga nasa gitna. Kasi usually naman yung mga tinitingnan lang talaga is both extremes, di ba? Yung highest at lowest. So ang next na lang po natin tingnan is itong dalawang lowest, si Senator Chis Escudero at si Senator Risa Ontiveros. So si Senator Risa, I believe she was just a public servant, more or less naman sa buong career niya. So I think this is very realistic or doable na ganito nga lang yung Saln talaga na income niya, 18.986 million. Wala rin naman po tayong nakikita na she comes from a rich family, or in other words po na meron siya na mana from sa mga ascendants niya, from parents and grandparents, so on and so forth. So I think this is a realistic amount yung kay Senator Risa. Yung kay Senator Chis Escudero, ang masasabi ko lang po dito, si Senator Chis is a second generation or third generation politician. So I'm not sure how he was able to come up with this amount. Pero kung yan talaga yung dineclare niya and he is under oath naman, then he enjoys what we call the presumption of regularity sa statement po niya. Therefore, let us give him the benefit of the doubt unless and until na meron na talagang tax cases filed against him for possible tax evasion or kung meron ba mga other criminal or graft and corrupt practices cases against him. Pero kung titingnan lang po natin at face value, yun lang po ang masasabi ko, medyo questionable po considering he is a second generation politician and I believe meron namang assets yung parents niya, grandparents niya na namana niya. So kung yun pa lang from the appreciation of those assets alone, mukhang more than supposedly na ng 18.8. But these are all assumptions po, sinasabi ko. Tandaan po ninyo, hindi ko naman sinasabing may tinatago talaga si Senator Chis because at present, he enjoys the right to be presumed innocent, presumption of regularity, kasi under oath naman po yung pag-file nito. So yan lang po ang thoughts ko on this. Diba? Kay Senator Mark, doable, Senator Camille, Senator Raffy, Senator Erwin. Kay Senator Chis lang medyo questionable. But of course, kung may mag-file talaga ng cases kay Senator Chis, then he will be given the opportunity to defend himself. So at least dun po natin malalaman yung full picture. And before we end po, I would just like to emphasize, hindi ko po sinasabing may tinatago si Senator Chis or what. Pag titingnan lang natin siya at face value, yung reaction lang talaga ng isang reasonableng tao ay medyo parang, teka lang, parang hindi to normal. Kasi he is a second generation, I believe, or third generation na ba, na family of politicians. Okay, so hopefully klaro po yan. If you like more legal videos, subscribe lang po kayo sa YouTube channel ko. And until next time po, see you all. Bye-bye!